This is Secret Stories, close encounter accounts emailed to Breaking the Silence. My name is Mary Cachapalia. Many people cannot be on camera because their employer, their family, their friends, or their church and synagogue would roll their eyes, ridicule, misunderstand, or even fire them. Secret Stories allow you to tell your story with anonymity. This episode tells the stories of three star sisters, Samantha, Avi Z, and Rachel. Samantha wrote to us that on September 19, 2009, about 11 p.m. in Valencia, California, back corner of Larkspur Court and Decorro on the right side of the last condo at the hillside, I was outside in my little courtyard in my spa, just relaxing and stargazing. From the corner of my left eye, I see something that looks like a mirage or misty vapor, and I'm drawn to this absolutely huge, blacker than black object jutting up into the sky. The front tip was pointed downward. It righted itself flat and cruised slowly over my area. As far as I know, nobody else saw it. I feel weird saying this, but it's possible I was singled out for some reason. Abduction or to show me something? I don't know. I ended up calculating how long it was there. My spa was on a timer. I had just started the jets when I saw the heat-type mirage to my left above the trees when it righted itself. I realized it wasn't the night sky anymore above me, it was the craft. The size of it blocked out the sky above me. It was immense, like a floating shopping mall or football field. I could barely see the edges of it because it was hovering just over my two-story home. I watched the light, which wasn't a light. It was like the engine flaming or lit with gases. The flames were different colors like a big campfire, but with green, purple, and red, orange, and yellow, with white swirls inside. I've only seen plasma on TV, and I told MUFON it resembled plasma to me. I was absolutely frozen in place for a while in astonishment and curiosity, afraid to move or make a sound. Then it started to cruise silently off and away. It disappeared to the east toward the mountains with a type of mirage of wavy distortion around it. It disappeared from sight as it went off in the distance. It was an elongated, triangular shape about 3 stories taller than my 2-story condo, making it about 5 or 6 stories tall, a silently floating football stadium. It was matte black with striations on its side like tubes or flanged walk paths like patio decks. It reminded me of a cruise ship in size and the room deck patios. By the time it had left, the 45-minute timer on my spa was shut off. It had been there at least that long, but to me it felt like 5 minutes or less. I believe I was either suspended in time or taken and replaced because there is definitely missing time. I have a strange diced-up memory like clips in my mind of seeing this craft high in the sky and off to the right of me turning away and circling the area, but no real full recall of how it fits with the narration. I just gave of the sequence of events. Those fragments came to me later as I thought about this more. That and the 45-minute timer being off of my spa led me to believe I was stunned or experienced missing time. This is what I'd like to be regressed to remember, but I'm not sure if I can cope with the answer just yet. Greetings. I go by Avi Z online. In 1965 or 66, while playing my guitar in my room on a lovely day with the big windows wide open, something caught my eye. I laid down my Gibson and went to the window. There, maybe 300 feet or so away, Sticking out of a low cloud was a large shiny disk. I stood there for a couple of minutes thinking, that's a flying saucer. I rubbed my eyes, still, but then suddenly it shot into the clouds. At that moment, my mother rushed into my door, screaming at me, "Where the hell have you been?" I was confused. "I've been right here." "Don't lie to me. I've been looking for you for over an hour. I was ready to call the police." "But I was right here." "Wait until your father gets home, young lady." I was in huge trouble. Then, in 67, 68, there was a huge, immensely bright orb hovering near a place called Little Mountain, not far from the school I went to in 7th grade. The playground teacher rounded us up and made us all go into the building. They called the police. They called the Navy, and there was no explanation for this giant orb next to Little Mountain. In my memory, I was the first one to spot the orb, and I was the last one off the playground because I was so transfixed looking at this bright light. When school was out, I ran to see, but the orb was gone. Throughout my life, I've had missing times that were never explainable, but I shook them off. I became a professional singer, songwriter, raised 6 kids, living my life, but with something nagging at the back of my something deep down felt disturbing, but I didn't know why. The last 7 or 8 years, I have been having odd dreams and memory bubbles, slowly putting the pieces together. Last summer, I opened my eyes in the night to see a brown, bumpy-skinned person creature standing over me. I couldn't move. Nothing but my eyes would work. My lip hurt very badly, and I knew this creature was injecting something into my lip. In my mind, I'm thinking, I have to fight this. Be strong. Fight this. Another voice in my head said, you can't fight it. Let it happen. And I remember thinking, yes, let it happen. And I drifted into unconsciousness. I know this is long, but it is really the short version of my life experiences with this topic. More than anything else, I hope that this will help other people who think they might have been taken to put their own pieces together. Thank you for listening. It means the world to me. Avi Z. This account is from Rachel. I chatted with you on Messenger about my warning about the flood they gave me. These experiences will seem strangely random and scattered, so I apologize for that ahead of time. I am older now, so it is bits and pieces in my memory from what happened years ago. I wish I had kept a journal, though, through those years. As a child, I remember thinking I was on a plane, but it was like being in a living room, like a house. I always thought it was a weird dream. Later, I was shown a hybrid girl that was mine. As a young adult, I was in a small apartment next to a cow pasture. I woke up one night and ran to the window to see a ship fly by with colored lights. I had a dream one time about an underwater pyramid as well. Next memory I have is moving to a new house in the suburbs with woods and a river nearby. The first week we moved in, my husband found 2. He wrote it off as we had been remodeling our old house to sell, and he thought he may have had somehow hurt himself. I made a mental note of how odd that was. I thought maybe a spider bit him. A few weeks later, this was in September 2009, I woke up about 5 a.m. to the sound of dogs across the street barking. I had not gotten a shade for the glass part of the front door yet and looked out the window. In the eastern sky, I saw an orange glowing light. It reminded me of a candle flame. I watched as 2 other lights came off of it. Next thing I knew, a black triangle craft with red lights appeared in my front yard about 40 feet from the front door. I was so frightened that I ran and jumped into my bed and hid under the covers. My dog was with me, and I quieted her as she barked. My children were in their rooms and my husband was gone. After laying there for a while, I heard a low humming and it was gone. It had been silent, hovering over my yard. I called my husband to come home. That next New Year's, there were fireworks in my neighborhood and we saw an orange light in the sky. My husband went in the garage to try and find his telescope, but couldn't, and it was gone by the time he got back. He and my children said it must have been a Chinese lantern. I don't think it was. The most significant thing that happened was being visited one night by a creature that seemed very wise and wrinkled. His skin was brown and his eyes were incredibly beautiful. I was not afraid. He showed me telepathically a water whirlpool. I remember after that night how I wondered why he showed me that. Then, in 2016, we had a large flood that flooded our neighborhood and house. Surely it was a warning. Another time I remember being out on my lawn, and I think it was the Greys giving me an injection. I thought that was strange too. I thought both of these events might have been dreams, but for the triangular ship, I was wide awake for sure. Anyway, after the injection, of course, COVID hit. Coincidence? I feel they were again trying to protect me for some reason. Could it be because I have a hybrid child? Who knows? Also, one night I woke up and turned my head and saw a group of small Greys walking around my living room. I remember having the thought, oh, it's just you, and went back to sleep. I sleep in a little room with French doors leading to my living room. My husband snores. Lastly, a few months ago, in the morning, my husband and I were in the driveway when I happened to look up in the western sky and saw a tic-tac miles up in the sky. I have open sky where I live, and you can see for miles high. I told my husband to look, and he saw them. There were two together. One flew off south and the other one west. He told me to get my phone and film it, and I did. When I watched it, it was jumping around, and I was not good filming. Later, when I went to watch it again, the video was gone. This is what I can remember for now. I will continue to journal my experiences when they happen and recommend that to everyone, as your memory of the details can fade over time. Thank you and Steve for this platform for me to share and not thinking our experiences are too strange to believe. Thank you, Star Sisters, for sharing your secrets. I encourage you also to share your secrets with us. My name is Mary Cachapalia, and this has been Secret Stories.